Hello and welcome to the Dog Savant Podcast. My name is Brett Endies. I am a professional dog trainer. This show is for you if you are a dog or puppy owner looking to learn more about your dog, gain insight to their behaviors, learn how to resolve them, if you are struggling with problem issues, and just the life of a professional dog trainer. This show is for you. I always ask, please share, subscribe, review, follow me on social media, support what I'm offering. All of these things are going to help me and give me the ability to create even more content. Some of you don't know, I also have a new podcast called Revitalized with Brett Endies, Revetalized. This is to follow my recent journey where I've been accepted into veterinary school at 50 years old and to follow the steps of that and a little bit more insight into my personal life just to get to know me more. So please follow that. I also have a Instagram account and we'll create more social media based on that, but it's at Revitalized. Thank you. I appreciate it. So let's see. I was thinking a lot about what I wanted to talk to you today about. I put a little I chat GPT, if anyone knows what that is, it's AI, and I'm not going to have it write like what I'm going to say, but it can give me some ideas when I have a little bit of a brain cloud. I've been studying a lot, so my brain gets filled with information, and sometimes I don't have much thoughts left. So this gives me a little kind of starting point of things I can talk about. So I'm just going to look over here and just kind of just on the fly. Last one we talked about separation anxiety, so we're going to kind of in that same vein talk about the hypervigilant dog. This is the A lot of dogs can be hypervigilant just because they're dogs and they're always enthusiastic for life, but sometimes it goes too far, right? What does that mean? What does a hypervigilant dog look like? What are their behavior patterns? What does that mean when they're doing it? Why is it certain things that they're doing that you're saying, Brett, is a symptom of their hypervigilance? Why is that a problem? Why addressing that or redirecting what you're saying? Why is that going to help me with my dog's reactivity? Why is that going to help my dog not pull on a leash or resolve their separation anxiety? So that's what I want to talk about. I didn't know I was going to talk about it, so I just read it, and I think it's a great idea. Thank you, Chat GPT. It's really a good tool. It's a powerful tool you can use. I'm not going to let it phone it in for me, but yeah, help my brain get on track. So the hypervigilant dog. First of all, where does this come from? How do I understand this? Why do I approach dog training this way? Why do I see it like this when some trainers, a lot of trainers, just aren't talking about uh, this in this fashion? Dog training, dog behavior. Um, I myself am I'm not very, I have ADHD. I'm on the autism spectrum. What does that mean? Well, obviously, I'm high functioning. I wouldn't be able to put everything together and create the life I have, but I do struggle in other ways, and I do share that, and I'll probably share that more on this podcast. But it is a certain wiring where you are approaching life without a filter. What I've learned about humans from just observing and talking to them and learning what normal people do is a lot of what we do is we compartmentalize our brains. So basically, like you can think about like if you're in a even just I'll give it not so much on a thought as like actually a tangible physical thing, because for dogs it is more just physical sensory input, not like they're having depth of thought. It is thoughts, but it's a basic overthinking. But for me, I go to a restaurant and I'm in there and I'm sitting there, let's say with another person, or I'm just trying to read the menu by myself. And most people, what they can do is they can just kind of, I call them sensory filters. They can tune out the surroundings and just pinpoint their attention to one thing. And that's what their brain is locked on. And everything, maybe they notice it, but it's not pulling their senses out away from them. They can focus on the moment. And it's not that difficult. It's not that uncomfortable. They just do it and then they can turn on another. Oh, look at that person there. I'm going to focus on that because my attention is, it's intended to. It's not like you have no control of noticing that person over there. The sounds in the kitchen, the clanking, something that gets louder or more sudden or more things moving, you don't really notice it. Or if you do, it just kind of filters through you. People, dogs that are more that have struggle filtering sensory input and even just like thoughts that create overload in your mind, it can lead to very uncomfortable feelings and thoughts. So for me, if I'm at a restaurant, I'm going to segue to how this relates to your dog. I have a very difficult time. And even when I try, because I know it's going to be hard for me, and I try to mentally prepare and do all my mindfulness techniques and do everything to like, sensory, short of plugging my ears up and putting a blindfold on. And it could be a good or a bad day. If I've had a lot of overload, it's like a gas tank. Once I've emptied it out, I don't really have much left in me for at least that time period till I can refill, reset, which is just sometimes rest, getting out of the sensory overload situation, whatever it is. But it is really very hard for me to filter these things out. So I am simultaneously trying to process a conversation, looking at the menu, hearing the clanking of the dishes and silverware in the kitchen, hearing four different conversations simultaneously at different tables throughout the restaurant. And what I'm doing is it's literally painful, but it also is not allowing me to take care of what I need to take care of, which is having a conversation and being present or ordering my food. And I've learned as an adult how to self navigate these situations, but admittedly it's still challenging, and sometimes I just have to take five. I avoid situations often, and I'll talk about that. And for dogs, I don't think that they need to be accommodated as much once you can work through this, because inherently a dog's life is basic. So even if they have sensory based issues and they're struggling with overvigilance, you can quickly change that if a dog sees there's a viable alternative, because they don't have this need to have to, like, I have to navigate my life. My thinking is, well, if I don't deal with this now, I'm going to have to deal with it later. And then sometimes you do it to yourself. So what happens is I get overloaded. I just feel just overwhelmed in thought. My body, my heart starts racing. You'll see me sweat. I talk faster sometimes to cope. It's just very uncomfortable, and I'm better at it. I've also learned I'm not going to put myself in these situations unless I have no choice. I go shopping at night. I travel minimally. I only work with clients that are not going to have chaotic environments, or if I know it is, I'm going to meet them in a calmer space, because it's just not going to make me effective, and it's going to make me be uncomfortable. And I still feel I have a right to live and exist in life, and I am good at my job, and I want to be able to help people, and I don't need special accommodations. I just need you to understand why I'm good at helping your dog is because I struggle with something similar, sensory processing issues, whatever you want to call it, autism, ADHD, just sensory processing disorder, whatever it is, anxiety. That's fine. It's all kind of jumbles into the same collective thing where people like us can get a lot done, but we do have a lot of struggles that can sometimes put roadblocks or ways to navigate it, where some people can just go A to B all day long. Not for me, but I also have to live life, so I've figured out solutions and strategies. Now for dogs, it's no different. If your dog is in your house and they're thinking about what you're doing, what's going to happen next, even, or what do I do? Where do I lay? What am I going to get? And for dogs, it can become primal. So for them to not worry about like how they're going to order from a menu, no, they're going to worry about, am I going to eat my next meal if I don't keep tabs of things? Because in most cases, the dogs I meet that struggle with these issues, it's because they have a certain wiring based on their personality, breed, or allowance on the part of their owner, giving them too much freedom too soon, and rewarding and encouraging these over assessments of life and over anticipation of what's going to happen for just their basic needs to get met. And then sometimes dogs sadly had to become that because they were living in a situation where their needs were not being provided. They had to live on the streets. Someone was doing something bad to them, so they had to be higher alert. And again, a lot of people can get this higher state of alert, not just from their wiring, coming back to the human version of it. People who suffer trauma. If you get beaten by your parents, or you're in an unsafe situation, or you don't know if you're going to get cared for or fed that day, you're going to be higher alert, because you got to stay aware. You got to take care of yourself at a time when you should have adults taking care of you. You should have your owner, your pack leader taking care of you, right? These are all things that are directly related. It's just a little bit of a different version of it when it comes to the dogs, because of how intense and primal. And it really is up to us. We can't tell a dog to go to therapy, or to, well, kind of, that's what I do is therapy, but we can't like tell a dog to read a manual or learn how to meditate. But we can teach them, if we can have a mindfulness of our own and be present for their needs. It can kind of help us. I know the one time that I'm not anxious is when I'm focused just on a dog, working through a moment with them. I'm at complete zen peace state. You can't live in that way, but I do know that when you're present, the dogs can feel it, right? They listen, they sense the energy. So again, getting back to the whole how that relates to the dogs, is that if your dog just, even again, is just worrying about like what's going to happen next, like, okay, you get up, I follow you to that room, and then we just do this kind of step by step, and we connect these vectors together till we end up like through our day, and I get fed, you tell me it's good, I sit on the couch, and you come up, and you sit on the couch, meaning I'm speaking for the dog, and then I come up to you, and then you pat my head when I come, nudge your hand. All these little things are subtleties that our dog is just trying to egg life along, inch it forward, instead of being completely present, relaxed, and waiting for you to come with me to this room. Let's go outside and play. Now's dinner time. Now I'm going to pet you. But dogs are pattern followers. They're seeing the patterns that we create that we're unconscious of, because we're living our life in their presence. And dogs that are hypervigilant, like I said earlier about like me in the restaurant, they're unfiltered. They're taking it on. And then even worse, they're thinking about what the next thing is. And their brain is trying to wrap itself around the entire day's events. And you haven't even just left the, you haven't gotten up for the day yet. You have where your dog's trying to anticipate where the walk is headed. And you just put the leash on, you haven't left the house. That's anxiety. Your dog is over telegraphing. And because they're an animal, it's very physical. So if your dog is thinking 10 steps ahead all the time, their body is going to feel pulled in those directions. And that's where your overreactions are. Why do you think dogs that have separation anxiety, in most cases, it goes hand in hand with reactivity and leash pulling and impulse control problems? Because it's not the problem itself, it's a symptom of a dog with a mindset that's too ready to startle, too ready to just react to something because they feel that nobody is giving them direction. And there's a two-part way to approach this. And I've talked about this countless podcasts. You have to create a certain role where they're learning to check in with you, and by instinct as the human, it taps into that because that's what they're made to do, is take direction and work for us and hunt and do agricultural tasks with us. Um, and also you're showing them just how to make calmer choices and rewire their sensory processing. Just like if a person learns to be mindful, they do sensory integration exercises, tapping. I once did a biofeedback where they put these probes on my ears, I guess, and they would send biofeedback to my brain, and I felt much calmer at the time. So they've done studies on this. If you look at all of the even Temple Grandin, she's amazing. She writes books, Animals in Translation. It gives you an understanding of how this unfiltered way of seeing it is very different than how most, when you call them neurotypical, they're people that don't struggle with this, people that don't even understand, like, what's with you? People in me, I get the feedback from people often about how I am. It hurts, I understand, but it's like, you're misinterpreting me just like you misinterpret your dog. You're seeing such an illusion, you're just not even seeing it. Like complete 180 from what's really going on. And a lot of trainers do that. They have this very on the surface, very basic, when your dog does this, do that. You hear I just described it for 10 minutes. It's pretty complex and it goes deeper. I mean, there's synaptic activity you have to regard. There's a whole level of this that just, oh, just give them a treat if they see. No, there's so, and again, all you're going to do is when you try to train your dog, like, well, what do I do on my leave? My dog has separation anxiety. I need a strategy. I got to go to work. It's really more what you do when you're home present to make when you leave something they don't have to keep tabs on and have that object permanence issue. But yeah, it really is. Seeing the dog for what they are and then approaching training from that perspective. I hate to keep being, redundant about. Somebody said I talking about the same thing. I'm like, I'm going to keep saying it till you show me a recognition and an awareness of this, that it's obvious to me. It's obvious to a lot of people, but some people, their neurotypical brain just wants to create these ideas of what things are, what life is, and they get so butthurt when you tell them the truth or say, "Hey, you're not thinking straight. You're not seeing it at all." And a lot of people want a common consensus approach and something that fits into their little box of how a dog should be or how they want to approach their dog versus just what the dog needs. Two separate things. I'd like to approach biochemistry and just learn a couple equations and call it a day. I've got an 800-page book here in front of me. I got no choice but to learn it. It's just life, people. You want to grow, you want to improve. And that's my own thing. If I have a dog that needs me, if I have a child that needs me, if I have a fractured relationship and the other party has no ability to help themselves, but I can become self aware and put some effort into the changes needed and the work done and the communication style needed for them, I'll do it. So anyway, understand where the separation anxiety comes from. It's a dog that's hyper vigilant by nature, by breed, or by life circumstances or history with their owner, getting too much freedom too soon as a puppy, reacting to every move they make. And then what happens is they feel that now the next new event that's maybe greater, a new person, you're leaving. Well, I can't even deal with you leaving the room. Now you're leaving the house. It's all carries over and it spikes if you haven't addressed the little, which is leading to the big, which are just the symptoms of the issue in itself, the reactivity, all of that. It's a dog getting startled. They're just ready for something to happen. Someone shows up at the house. They've been following you everywhere, keeping track of you and thinking that you're a distracted human because you're doing human priorities versus what a dog's priority is of managing the pack and creating direction for the other party. And of course, they're going to step in and then they're going to get stressed. This is a biggie. They're going to get even more stressed when you try to train them because they say, why are you making me listen only now when there's a guest in the house? What the gives? Like, I'm following you everywhere. You're babying me. You're letting me on furniture. You're running up to me and you're petting me for it. You're nudging me. You're singing songs to me when you present yourself instead of giving me direction and structure. Now you want me to listen, or now you don't want me to pull on the walk? Now you want me to come back to you when I'm running off after a squirrel or a new dog? You taught me this. It's your job to teach me something different so I can trust your intervention is the best possible option. And then guess what? Your dog is pausing. Your dog is checking in with you. Your dog is now able to make this calm. It's an observation or ignoring something versus a strong visceral reaction. I'm telling you, reactions in dogs are in many cases life and death level that most people will never conceptualize in their lifetime. They don't understand that. And that's why I have to be so intense about this. That's why I have to demand clients do this absolutely perfectly. If you don't do it perfectly, you're going to scare your dog. You're going to make them worry. Why are you only training? Or why are you saying 10 words instead of just meaning? There's an order of operations to this too that people struggle with greatly because they always want to default back to their human mind's eye, their neurotypical thinking, their way of just wanting to approach it from this very simple in the box way that is, I'm telling you, it's just not what dogs are at all. And there's, again, even if you want to see it that way, you have to understand how sensory processing works. That's why all these poor kids on the spectrum don't get the help they need. That's why I love Temple Grandin, because she's on the spectrum and she understands what this is about. You don't feel bad. You don't have sympathy. You do the work. You stretch them. You get them to be comfortable with things that they're previously uncomfortable about, if that's what life is going to present. Because I'm telling you, I see a lot of, even with dogs, they safe space them. People on the spectrum, they make them wear all these things to just not make your sensory processing ability stronger, better, or just not an issue. We avoid that. That's the world we live in. Take a pill. Tell yourself it's okay. Don't just do the work and make the changes needed to help you or help the others that need it from you. Okay, rant over. I care about this. I'm sorry. I can't not. People get upset at me. You know what? Maybe if you cared about something on the level and have devoted and sacrificed the way I know I have, you might get. And the people who do definitely understand where I'm coming from. So I appreciate you. But boy, I've gotten some bizarre feedback from people lately about, like, because I'm speaking like this about it and telling you this is what you need to do because it's been proven the work and I have a pretty good understanding of where these issues come from. It really hurts. It's not cool to do to a trainer who's put in a lot more devotion towards helping dogs than the people who are like not. um, yeah, so that kind of, I mean, I don't know how much more I could articulate it. It really is. So what's a solution? Let's talk about solutions before we wrap it up because I have to go buy dog food here soon. Solutions: place training, structured walking, teaching your dog to be present, mindfulness exercises through commands, getting your dog to just rewire their attention to a single pointed focus. That's what place is. It's the meditation cushion for dogs. It gets them to hold their mind and synaptic activity to become steady. So during these moments where they're getting overstimulated, which is, again, could be anything from anticipating their next meal, overreacting to a guest, worrying what room you're going to, worrying where to settle, worrying when they're going to get pet next. This redirects it into a calm, content mindset. And then all these things that they're over anticipating because they think it's their thinking and actions that get it. Oh, you just bring it to me. You initiate another command like heel to walk me to go to another part of the house, to take me to get my food, or to walk me out the door instead of jumping on every little twitch the owner makes, and they get this doggy Wi-Fi. I'm telling you, these dogs get these scanners and their senses and their sixth sense even is on such a heightened state. They feel, I've seen an owner just like shift in their chair and the dog is like, what's next? What's next? It's sad. Oh, my dog is just so connected to me. My dog loves me and loves everything I do. Not even close. That's narcissism that drives that interpretation of dogs and their behavior. That's really what's going on. Is a lot of dog owners, their narcissism, because their dogs give them such regard that they don't get from people. It fulfills that, and it just feels too good not to, despite their dog being an anxious wreck. Very difficult clients when they're in it. Los Angeles, unfortunately, has a lot of them. But yeah, I just move on from those kind of clients because they're just going to get mad at me quickly and make my life difficult. But yeah, I mean, reality, it's not about you. It's not about what feels good. It's about what is needed. It's about getting the work done and seeing your dog for what they are. They're amazingly perfect, instinct driven, sensory based, pattern following beings. And if you embrace that, you know how to program your high powered computer, and you are not going to put yourself into it, and just learn how to understand and communicate and utilize its power. That's what's going to, I'm telling you, your problems with your dog are going to just disappear like that. It takes time to create that if you have a long history, but right away when you start giving the dog the option, everyone's like, wow, I've never seen my dog be calmer. I've never seen my dog not react like this. I've never seen, at least when my dog's in command, they stay and they listen and they don't do all this A, B, and C behaviors that I've been struggling with for sometimes years or tried with other trainers. That's why I'm so confident. I retrain more dogs than I see as new clients. This could work, and other trainers should maybe educate themselves to more of this end of how you hear. I'm talking about dog training. Yes, you can use treats, reward, corrections, but that's all in the context of command at specific times to create calmer based ways of operating when they were, again, overanalyzing, over anticipating, overreacting, getting overstimulated by just life going on around them that we create. Okay. Thank you so much. This is the podcast. I don't even remember what number, but just follow it, subscribe. Dogtrainingla.com. You can get more information about my training services, also my online training. Going to have books coming out, all these great things. I'm so excited about it. So thank you. I'm going to try to do regular episodes of this as well, just so I can just, hold your attention and give you more good content. Thank you. Train and work your dog, please.